another live stream on UFO Man. I have a guest on the stream this evening. His name is Tommy Highway. He's an esteemed author and a good friend. Say hi, Tommy.
Hi there, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Not a problem. Okay, we had slated other people to come to the stream, but obviously they're not here yet. So we are expecting a few, so we'll have to see if they show up. Hi, Renee. Hi, Inger. Glad that you hung around. Okay, kickstart that puppy. Okay, well, this evening, what we're planning on doing is trying to show some UFO videos and kind of check them out and see what people think in the chat. Just, provide different content. Tommy over here has written a book, a really interesting book called Tales from the Highway, in regards to lots of interesting things, the occult and UFOs and blue people. It's just a very interesting book, and maybe he can tell you more about it. Go ahead, Tommy. You can go ahead and take the floor.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for having me. I've spent the last almost 25 years as a network engineer. I'm a former government employee, where, of course, I work in IT. I'm sure you can probably imagine the kind of clearances and so forth that you'd have to actually have that job. So I've actually witnessed a lot of strange things. We're talking about, I've had a couple of UFO encounters that were very profound. I mean, they affected my life. They changed my life in many ways. And I had a very unfortunate experience with some Satanists when I was a kid. That absolutely changed my life. So once I finally left the government service and got out into the private sector, I felt that I could, I felt like I was free to go ahead and talk about these things and discuss these things. And to me, the best way to do that was to write a book. So I wrote a book called Strange Tales from the Highway, Volume 1. And it's just a collection of stories that are actually things that have actually happened to me personally, or things that I've personally witnessed happen to someone else. And the bottom line here is that we kind of, I think, tend to think in linear terms when it comes to the reality in which we all live our day-to-day lives in. What if it's not quite as cut and dried as we think as we go about our daily lives? What if there's more to the story that we either haven't seen or refuse to realize that is actually there and it's happening in front of us? So that's one of the reasons I sort of got into the whole author game, was to share those stories. And I also want to hear other people's stories as well. I think that's very important, because that's how people learn. The free exchange of ideas and experiences, right? And I think in the 21st century, we live in a very unique time that now people can come out and tell their story. They can actually come out and, to the masses, they can actually talk about their experiences, strange as they may be, and without people looking at them like there's some kind of a lunatic. And I think that we're finally getting there as a society, which is a great thing. So that's kind of why I've sort of come out of the UFO closet, if you will. That the question of whether or not we're alone in the universe has been answered for me for decades. And I hope by sharing my stories with you, maybe you can realize that as well.
Thank you, Tommy, for saying that. We're very happy to have you here. Hey, Renee, message Vern and see if he's coming over here or not. He is supposed to be here. Anyways, alrighty. Do you have any specific stories that you would like to tell in regards to UFOs, Tommy?
Well, I could probably go. Let's go. I could probably tell you the story of the Ohio River incident. This is something that happened back in the mid 90s. I was actually living in Ohio at the time. I was working for the government. Had a girlfriend at the time who later became my wife, then ex-wife later. But at the time, a friend of mine actually owed me some money. And instead of paying me the money, he gave me a boat. And he also had a dock on the Ohio River where I could actually keep this boat. And so one evening I called an old friend of mine, told him that we were going to go out and we were going to do some stargazing because just outside of Cincinnati, maybe 4 or 5 miles downriver, at least back in those days, it was pitch black. And it was the most awesome planetarium show you can imagine. I mean, just no lights, there's nothing out there. And it was really a really awesome thing to do. So that day we loaded the boat up. My ex-wife and I, we went shopping, bought everything we needed. And my friend showed up and he brought this new girlfriend at the time, or the girl he'd been dating anyway. We jump in the boat and this is like maybe 9 o'clock in the evening. We're talking, it's like in August. Okay, so it's late summer. And we take off down the river. And it was a Wednesday night. It was I picked that night because I'd always been told that it was a slow night on the river for various reasons, and it kind of was. At least it probably still is. So there wouldn't be a whole lot of traffic out there, commercial traffic or otherwise. You gotta understand the Ohio River is a big body of water. Okay, so we head down the river, and we get a few miles down the river, just outside of well, let's just say probably within a couple miles of where I wanted to be. And I noticed this strange light. It was down on the left side of the river, kind of close to the bank, and it was just odd looking. It was just out of place. It was like a real white light. It was very bright, and I really couldn't make it out because we're really, really far away from it. And as we got closer, it kept getting larger and larger and larger the closer we got to this thing. And I keep thinking to myself, is it one of those party boats with neon on it and stuff like that? Because you used to see that stuff back in the day there, but it wasn't. And as we got closer to it, we almost got parallel to this thing. It is huge. It's enormous. It's this big. You know what it reminded me of? And I know this is probably not the best way to describe it, but you ever played that video game Super Breakout where you got the little paddle thing that goes back and forth and the ball beep, 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 like that? It looked like that paddle thing. I mean, it was just this bar of light, and it was just sitting there. And we're probably 300 or 400 yards away from it. As soon as we got parallel to this object, the boat died, powered down. And I reached over and tried to start the boat, and it wouldn't even click. It would do nothing. The women that we were with, they're seeing this thing, and they're getting panicked. They're like, well, paddle us out of here. And as it happens, the boat is like a 22-foot boat. There's no paddling this boat anywhere. So as we're looking at this thing, I had an old pair of binoculars that actually came with the boat. And I picked them up, and I threw them up, and I looked at this object, and I realized right away that this wasn't on the water. This thing was hovering above the water, several feet above the water. And I was in shock. I mean, I didn't want to blurt out what was going on here because I didn't want to panic the girls. They were already plenty panicked at this point. So my big dumb friend, let's call him Bob, I just quietly handed him the binoculars, and he threw them up to his eyes and did the one thing that I didn't want him to do. He said, "My God, that thing's hovering above the water," which drove them into a big panic. And we stood there and we watched it for several minutes. Then all of a sudden it flashed really brightly and went from several hundred yards away from us to directly overhead. I mean, I don't know what the altitude was. I mean, it wasn't like right on our heads, but it was right there. And we're all looking up at this thing, and it started to rain. There's a part later in the story where this will make sense, but one of the girls there described it later as raining. It started raining this weird white light down on us, and it was like it washed everything out. I could still see. I remember looking at the gauges, the steering wheel. I could see that. I remember turning around and looking at the other people, and we're all looking at each other through this, like, it's almost like a white haze. And then it did this for maybe not even a minute, I would say. And then that stuff dissipated, just into a mist, just kind of disappeared. Then the object flashed again really brightly, and all of a sudden, boom, shot down, and it probably went about 4 miles down the river, way down there. And at this point, the boat's still dead. We're just completely amazed by what happened here. I mean, the look on everyone's face was just, it just one of disbelief, I guess. So anyway, the boat's still dead, but we got a pretty good current that night. So we're still headed downriver, nothing we can do. We start watching this object as we get closer to it again. And at this point, it's, let's say, I'd say my 2 o'clock position. So it's on our right side of the boat. And I noticed that it's got this light coming out of the bottom of it. And it was like a strip of light, would be the best way to describe it, like a wall of light, okay? And it was going like this, like it was scanning. It reminded me of a copy machine, okay? Like this thing was scanning, and it was scanning the water. It was, look, whatever, they were very interested in something in that water. So it's doing this for a while, and it's kind of making a move, and it crosses where we were. And again, we're still a mile away from it. And about that time, you start to hear the roar of jet engines, military jet engines. And they got louder and louder and louder. And the direction that they were coming from led me to believe they were probably coming from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And we've all heard about Wright-Pat and area and hangar, 51 and all that, or hangar 18 and all that. Anyway, so the roar of these jets got louder and louder. And finally, this thing, it retracted that light back up into itself. I don't mean it turned it off. I mean, it like sucked it back up, and it blinked again and took off just out of sight. No sooner did it did that, the two jet fighters came in real low, real fast. And they came in and they banked to go downriver, and they started kind of circling, but we noticed that they were off. They were like way too far downriver, because this thing was, they had it wrong, I think. Anyway, they circled for about half an hour, and then they left the way they came. So we're stuck in a boat, no control of it at all, no power. It didn't have any kind of emergency radio, anything like that. I mean, I was stupid not to have that stuff, but I didn't. And then we floated all night. We damn near froze to death, because it was, it gets really cold at night like that. And the only thing that we had to cover up with was this spider infested old tarp that I had in the cabin part of the boat. But it worked. It got the job done. We huddled up together. We sailed down the river all night until the next morning, until just about daybreak, and an empty a barge ship that they have the big barges on them. This guy wasn't towing anything, but he's coming upriver, and we're waving at him. We got his attention, and he had a whiteboard with him, and we had binoculars, and he's giving us like the radio thing, but we're like, no radio. So he finally writes it on this thing, and we look, yeah, we need help. He says, okay, I can't help you, but I'll send somebody. So then an hour or so rolls by, and here comes this little, like almost jet ski looking little boat with a DNR guy, one of the river patrol people. He pulls up and ties off and gets on our boat and asks us what the problem is. And I just said, you know what? We just lost power. I didn't get into it. So he says, okay, well, I can't tow this big boat with this little boat, so I'll get somebody else to come out here and pick you up. Which of course he did. Another hour maybe rolled by, and this really big boat, like iron sides on it, it showed up and it tied onto us, and it took us probably 4 or 5 miles downriver to where their dock is, right? So they get there, and they had another little guy on a jet ski, and he kind of helped us get into our slip there at the office there. And there's two guys standing on the dock. There's one guy who looked like he was in charge, had his uniform on and all that. I swear to God, the guy looked like the skipper from Gilligan's Island. He looked like that guy. Like, it was hard to look at him seriously, for real. And then there was like this little mechanic guy standing next to him with greasy coveralls on. So we pull up, and he goes, "Who's the captain?" And I'm like, "Well, I guess that's me." And he goes, "Okay, well, come with me." And they took us in, and they took everybody else to this really well-stocked break room. And he and I went upstairs to his office. So, and I'll never forget this. I'm sitting there across the table from this guy, across the desk, and he kind of leans back in his desk, and he pulls out this pack of forms, because I had to do like an accident report, because they had to rescue me, okay? And then usually that's pretty expensive, actually. I was really dreading that. I was thinking I was going to pay $2,000 or $3,000, because I've heard horror stories about this. But anyway, so he pulls out this big pack of forms. You got the pink copy, the blue copy, the yellow copy, like that. Each copy's for something different. And he takes all my information down. And then there's this big box in the bottom, okay, in your own words, what happened? Well, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm a government employee. should I tell this guy what really happened, or should I just make something up at this point? Because I'm still freaked out by the fact that it did happen and completely sleep deprived and all that anyway. Should I level with this guy? And I decided to go ahead and go for it. I did. So I shared the story with the guy exactly as I shared it with you. And when I was finished, he kind of leaned back in his chair and he put his pencil down, or put his pen down, and he wasn't writing any of this down. None of it. And he said, well, he had this real thick Kentucky accent. And he said, well, son, I believe you. And I'm like, you do? And he's like, yep. And I was not expecting him to say that, okay? But he goes on to say that he grew up his entire life in that area. Then he and his wife live over in that area, and that those fighter jets kept him up, for like a half an hour that evening. In fact, he said he was expecting to get a page or a phone call about an accident or something that happened, right? So after all that was said and done, they figured out the batteries in the boat were dead. They were completely dead. And I just bought these batteries, these two big yellow batteries, just bought them brand new. And we had to get out of there. So they offered to go ahead and buy us a battery from Napa, or buy us a couple batteries from Napa Auto Parts. As long as we paid for them on the spot, they'd put them on their account or whatever so we could get out of there. But this took a couple of hours before these things were going to be delivered. So the sheriff offered to take us up to a nearby Denny's for breakfast. And I remember the girls didn't touch their food. They just didn't eat anything. And the DNR guy, the cop, he just kept talking to my buddy, getting the same story out of him. I mean, the stories were exactly the same. He knew we weren't bullshitting him. So after that, we had our breakfast. We went back. They put the batteries in, and we started to leave. Now, what I didn't tell you was when we were first leaving, I had one of those big Maglite flashlights. Remember those, the big 6-cell ones or whatever? And I had one of those, and I just put new batteries in it before we left, just in case something happened. And I also had this little emergency light above the gauges, like a little button somebody had rigged up at some point. Had a little 9-volt battery. Replaced it and tested that light too. So the flashlight was dead. Every battery in that boat was dead. And the cop, he said, wait a minute, as we're pulling off. And I thought I was going to start something here. But he had the same flashlight, and he takes the batteries out of his light, transplants them into my light, clicks in, and it came right on, and just handed it back to me. And we just both kind of looked at each other like, and so we went on, and we went back upriver and went home. Now, that is like 1994. Fast forward to 2003. I'm in the Dayton Mall in Dayton, Ohio. I'd moved from Cincinnati to Dayton, and I was about to move to Florida. I was getting transferred there for work. So this was going to be the last holidays I spent in Dayton, Ohio, which is essentially where I kind of grew up. So I'm in the Dayton Mall, and I was shopping for Christmas stuff, whatever. And I'm leaving out through the food court. That's where I always parked. And as I'm walking through there, I just look over, and there's people everywhere. It's Christmas time. Kids everywhere, kids for Santa. The food court's just back when a mall was a mall, okay? And I look over, and I see this woman was sitting at a table, and she's got this young guy, and they got a little kid with him, like a stroller. And she's got this, she just keeps looking at me. And it was one of those things where you look at somebody, they're staring at you, and you look away, and you look back, you look, like that, right? I'm doing this. Finally, she stands up, and she starts walking over to me really fast. And the guy and the little kid, they were like right behind her in tow. And as she got closer to me, I realized who she was. And she was the girl that was there dating my buddy that was there that night. I'd only met her twice. I never saw her or talked to her again after that. After all those years, she walked up to me in the middle of Dayton Mall, and she didn't even so much as say hello before she starts talking about that night, which blew her husband. I found out later, her husband's mind. He's like, think about it. It's not every day that your significant other walks up and starts in a mall and starts talking to somebody about a close encounter, right? So we took him into, there's a Ruby Tuesdays nearby. We took him in there, and we sat on one side of the table, and he and the child on the other, and we told him the whole story. And he just, the whole time, he just kept saying over and over, why haven't you never told me about this? Why haven't you ever told me about this? And he was actually being annoying about it. But it's like, I've dated several people after that. And I never, how do you tell somebody about stuff like this? You just blurt out and, want pillow talk. Oh, by the way, it's hard to talk about.
Thank you for your story, Tommy. I appreciate it. Gotta say, in regards to telling people about UFO incidents, in my case, it's really easy because I'm, the hat and whatnot. People in the area generally know that I'm involved with the UFO subject. So in regards to going out and talking to people, I talk to people all the time because I figure either they're going to say, no, it's a bunch of baloney, or they're going to say, yeah, I saw something, or my brother saw something, or the postman saw something, or whatever. And a lot of farmers around where I live have seen things. Now, I talked to a lady the day before yesterday, actually, and her name was June, and she told me that she was coming home from work at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, and she was traveling on Highway 52 South. And when she got home, which was about 15 minutes from Rochester, she parked in her driveway, got out, and her house is like 5 miles out in the country. So she's like right across the street from this cattle pasture. She said, quote unquote, she saw a disc just above the cattle, had red, blue, and green lights, that the lights were cycling around the center, going from right to left. So it would have been going clockwise. And it was going incredibly quick. The lights were moving incredibly quick. She said she watched it for probably, I don't know, half an hour. And she got tired and she went in. And her husband went out and watched it for another half an hour, and he got tired and came in. So we don't know how long that vehicle was there. Did they get it on film? No. She said it happened back before digital cameras and cell phones were common. So she couldn't have gotten it on film at the time because she didn't have one of those big video cameras, So, and that's another thing. How many people actually have a good camera or a good video camera on hand at the spur of the moment if you were to see something out of the blue? I mean, there's a lot of comments on video content where people say, oh, you filmed it with a potato, or you filmed everything that you film is blurry. Well, the problem is that people don't really know how to set up their camera right away. Welcome, Vern.
Yeah.
And when they set up their camera in a spur of a moment, it may not be set up correctly. It may not have the right zoom or anything, and you got to catch it now. And if you don't catch it now, it's going to be gone. So, in my opinion, a lot of footage that is blurry could still be legitimate.
Oh, sure.
Mike, Vern's here. Mike and Renee were trying to find you, Vern, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I actually was doing some things for you.
I appreciate that, Vern.
Right.
I really do.
Yeah, you had some nefarious people that I had to take care of.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Nefarious people.
Mod Cutter. Which one's Cutter?
Cutter is Uncle Cutter. That's Unc.
Oh, Unc. Okay, yeah, I can do that.
Goofball. You sure Unc's sure he's got a wrench too? He needs a wrench. If he doesn't have one.
Who is it?
Unc.
Unc's got one now.
Okay, good. It's handy to have him too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A set of eyes. Because you were being attacked. You didn't know it though.
I appreciate it. I was being attacked where?
I'll tell you later, but don't worry about it. The thing is that I also had your computer. You know, I was configuring, so I was trying to get I couldn't get logged on, so until I got everything is, you know what I mean, logged in.
Right, all the
and everything all up. Yeah, takes a minute to update, but.
Well, Tommy just got done telling some really, really interesting stories.
Yeah, I was listening the whole time.
It was just awesome. We were thinking about, I was going to ask you, Vern, because I really don't know now when I want to share my screen, will it just come up for video footage?
You have to just, like, if you're playing on a video player or an application, it has an application window to share. If it's like Chrome, it has a Chrome window to share. You just choose that. If you want sound, you have to check that box in the corner. It says audio, you know, when you bring it up on the...
Okay, you know the share screen button down below?
Yep.
Can I use that?
Yeah.
Okay, because what I want to do is show some video footage.
Yeah, see, when you look in the left-hand corner on the bottom, it says share audio. If you want sound, you have to share that audio. So you have to
I don't see that.
in the bottom corner. Look carefully. It says share audio.
Stop cam mic, share screen.
No. I'm talking about when you open up the window, the share screen window.
Oh, okay.
It says your entire screen, application window, Chrome tab, and then on the bottom, and there's share audio. If you want audio on the video, then you have to click that.
Share audio. Look for the share audio checkbox on the next window. Oh, okay.
So just click on share screen right now, and you'll see it. It'll pop. It'll open that one.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, I want to do that.
So make sure that
that'll play the audio of the video then, right?
Allegedly, yeah.
Okay, well, good. Then I can do that. All right. So what we're going to do is get this set up. Anyways, I'm not going to do it just yet because Vern just got here. And welcome, Vern.
Welcome, Vern.
Can you tell us about your channel?
It's just a channel. Pretty much. I originally started it to do actually it was a backup channel. This is the backup channel, but anyway, the original channel was set up to do and bring content involving UFO and other paranormal activity out in the field. And unfortunately, that kind of bombed, and there was issues with YouTube and other things, and so it sort of bombed horribly. And then they started hitting me with copyrights on everything, like no matter what I did, I was under scrutiny. So I had to go to this channel, and this channel I sort of evolved into being a channel more about me and my escapades and stuff. I do hunts on it too, but it's more like it's a place that we come and unwind, we ask questions, stuff. We can have serious discussions, or we can screw around too. I mean, I'm not really defining the channel other than it's like how I perceive things through my eyes. Right.
And you are very immersed in the UFO field, aren't you?
Yeah, pretty much. It's not like I have a choice about it. It was something that it just happened. So I don't know how. I don't know. I don't want to sound arrogant and say like I'm chosen or this and that, but it's like. The way they put it was, I asked them why me, and they pretty much said, why not you? That was the answer. So
right.
That's right. It's pretty direct. And, one thing that people don't understand is that, a lot of people are always asking the question, why? And let me make that clear. They don't like the question why, because why to them is what a child asks. And one thing that we don't know about in our language is the power of our language, in that we don't really know how to ask for things, properly or in a way and stuff. And these beings, I believe around here, they're cognizant of people's spirits, like their spiritualism, and how and their faith and stuff. I believe this, that it's not on a religious scale. It's on a spiritual scale. And let's get that straight. It doesn't matter whether you believe in whatever religion or whatever, that has nothing to do with this at all. It has to do with connecting with something that's beyond their our species realm. And we're on the verge of being a species that could either go the mile or go the way. You know what I mean? We're real close. We're on a teeter-totter, I would say. And one of the reasons why these things are around here is that they maintain our the stability of this planet. And this planet is very volatile. It's very unstable, and whether we know it or not, which I know that. But more so than people think that, like we affect the atmosphere and all that, it's just not really relative. I mean, we are so insignificant on this planet compared to all the other forces that are involved. But we have a significant role that we can save ourselves, and if we prepare ourselves properly. And see, we're not doing that. We're fighting each other. We're, when you think about the budget that this country, produces and what we do with it, it's kind of pathetic,
Right.
And I think that one of the things that these beings are looking for people that are willing to accept doctrine and a belief in a system that's really self-guiding. It's like up to you to police yourself, really. You know what I mean? Like from right and wrong.
Right.
Like, are you gonna, when we have to be policed, it's like we're children. Okay, we treat ourselves like we're children. We don't trust ourselves. We have authorities who have all this power, and yet they're no better than us, any one of us.
Right. Exactly.
And I'm just trying to make this point. I know this is kind of like this, but these creatures or these things are political. Okay, whether we like it or not. Because being civilized is being social, and social is being polite, and polite is the root word for politician. And we forget that, like in our politics, because they're so freaking rude, about everything about amongst them. And when they bicker amongst themselves, they make us look like idiots to these other things. You know what I mean? Because either we take control of our own lives and ourselves, or we let somebody dictate to us. And someone dictating to us is like Hitler. Is like Stalin, is like these other people. Do you want dictators, or do you want to have your own ability to control and end up where you're at? Because see, when you serve a dictator, you serve evil. And no matter how good of a person that you are, you're going to hell along with that dictator.
Right.
Because you're an enabler.
And by association.
Fear isn't a good enough excuse, because life doesn't end here. Okay. It just begins here. This is one of the beginning points of it. And the things that people have in their lives that they don't give a shit about are the most important things sometimes that they're overlooking. And that's like the time that you have here is limited. And don't take people for granted. Don't take the people that you love for granted, because they'll be gone.
Right.
They'll be gone just like that. Because I've lost my family because of this. I believe that because these beings will corrupt people, and not the way that you think, but because if you are someone who's not honest and you do anything dishonest or whatever, you will not be able to tolerate being around these beings. They won't tolerate you, and they see right through you. They know what's up. You know what I mean? Like completely. So
are
much.
You suggesting they're indifferent?
Well, I'm going to tell you this right now. The government has no ability to track them, have anything other than a need to know basis with them. That's why the government is in such denial about things, because they are programmed. These things control how people are. The government, they don't trust. They don't trust our government.
Right.
But they use elements of the government to do what they need to do. That's why it appears to people that the government's involved, but they only control what they need to control, and then they're out of there. You know what I mean? And they fix it so that when the news comes up, the mainstream news, that those people act silly and stuff like that. That's how I'm made to understand this. Okay, because I have a question. I'm like, why is it that all this is treated like this? And it's because that is how they handle it. Okay, and people have to understand this. It's not willing. These are not willing participants in acting like this in this thing. This is how they control people. They control your thoughts. They control your mind if you need to be. That's why you don't see them. Most people don't see these things because you can't see them, even though they're there. And I can point them out to people who can't see them, and then they'll see them, and it's a remarkable thing to watch happen. You know what I mean? Because then once they've seen them, if they go to try to show somebody else, they are completely erased from the thought that they saw them. My daughter was with me one night when we were on Halloween, believe it or not. It was a Halloween night. And I was standing next to a gentleman, and there was in the field behind us, and I live in Nevada, and there's a lot of activity out in this area for some reason. And there was a disc that was sitting over at the edge of this field. And the guy, when I pointed it out to him, the first thing he said, he goes, "It's a plane." I'm like, "It's not moving." He goes, "Oh yeah, it's not. It's a helicopter." And I'm like, "There's no noise." He goes, "Oh yeah, you're right." I'm like, "Okay, come on." Wow. Oh my God, that's a UFO. I'm like, "Yeah, I just want to make sure." He goes, That's amazing. Wow." And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, I was just joking with him, you know. I'm like, "It's been following me around the neighborhood," which it really was actually. Every time we go in a, you know, between the houses or whatever, it was sitting right there, line of sight with us. And it was weird, you know what I mean? And the guy immediately goes to try to tell a buddy that he knows right there. He goes to point. He goes, "Hey, look at this over here." And the guy gets his attention, and then he immediately changes his conversation to something that was totally irrelevant to what he was going to tell him. And my daughter witnessed that, and she looked at me and she goes, "Dad, that was really weird." And I'm like, "That's just the half of it." You know what I mean? And that was the night that my son said, "Write book," twice, and he could not speak. He was under 2 years of age.
Wow.
And that was right by, there was a couple of discs or 3 discs that were in the field over there that were staging for these other discs that were going across the valley to the spot where they were, you know, going on the ground or disappearing into the power lines.
Right.
And I mean by disappearing in the power lines is that they were a golden disc, and the golden disc would like turn into an orb. And I don't think it's turning into an orb, is that the orb is an effect of what is occurring. It's going into a transparent dimensional state. Like it's in between worlds, but they can still navigate in our world and see things as long as they open the world up. Like, you know what I mean? Like they create like a field where they're like spying through it. And it's like, oh, it's really bizarre, but they can project the light through it, and it looks like a holographic 3-dimensional image, and it's like an orb, but it's just the way the light comes out of it and how it's diffracted, I guess, or whatever. But anyway, the thing is that I watch those orbs, which are tracking that object or whatever, go and attach onto power lines and just absorb right into the power line. So something's going on, you know what I mean? For them to be able to do this, you know, they're traveling interdimensionally. They're traveling interdimensionally within our power lines. They use our power lines to travel dimensionally. It's like crazy. But I observed this on several occasions. Many times I saw these things attaching onto power lines, or going under like a street light, and then going up to the top of the street light and slowly floating down and going up. And what I guess they were doing is they're recharging themselves. But and like I said, I had my greatest witness is my stepdaughter, which I have no access to anymore, unfortunately, because of the way things work out. But anyway, she witnessed some pretty incredible stuff with me at times, and aided me in the sighting, actually. And the one sighting of that thing that was following the back of the car on our way over to Walmart that night was another object that I couldn't let her look at it through the binoculars. She was watching it kind of in the back of the car. It was following really close to the back of the car. But when I looked at it through the binocular, I knew right away, the moment I saw it, that it wasn't from this world. You know, like, I don't know how to explain it, but it was doing things that I've never seen before. I can't even begin to describe to you what it was doing, because I have no idea. It's just things, appendages were coming out of this object, and it was doing things like it was damaged, I don't know, or something, repairing itself or adjusting itself. I don't know, you know, I really don't know. But it was about the size of a grapefruit, maybe or a cantaloupe, and it was round, spherical. It had something moving around the center of it that looked like a field of energy of some sort. It looked like, the best way to describe it is it looked like a skirt, you know, that was like on a ballerina dance, you know, and they twirl around. It sort of looked like that, but there was no blades on it. You know what I mean? It was like, it was like being bent by the energy that it was producing coming out of it. It was like a, I guess the best way to look at it is like a mirage. You know, you see a mirage, you know, it bends the light like that. It's very similar to that. And it was a trip. It went underneath this street light, and it would go all the way to the top of the street light, and then slowly float down, and then go right back up to the top, and then slowly float down. And if I didn't have my kids with me, I would have most definitely would have tried to gather that thing, or, you know, capture it if I could have been.
It sounds like a very exciting encounter there, Vern.
It was bizarre. Oh, well, it was not, I wouldn't say exciting because I had my kids with me and I was kind of concerned about them because I didn't know
I hear you.
whenever these things start to mess with us, and and I try to keep the kids calm by by not making them seem like it's a threatening thing or whatever. But in the meantime, I'm trying to maintain, like, what are they going to do to us? Or what are they trying to take my kids or whatever like that? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Right.
And these things are like I said, otherworldly. Let's just say. I mean, like it another way that I could describe it is that it reminded me of Phantasm. Those balls in Phantasm.
Right. Yep.
It was kind of like that. I mean, in a way. I mean, it was like a chrome silver reflective ball, but I mean, it had like it was opening up and things were coming out of it and doing stuff. I mean, it was very, very unusual, very weird.
John Smith said he saw a USO. Hold on a second here. John Smith said he saw a USO out at sea at night, thought it was a full moon, but there was no moon. It rose out of the water at the same speed the ship was going. It made no sound or splash, then whoosh straight up. John, I put the link in the chat. If you would like to come on the panel and tell your story, feel free. Okay, in the background behind Vern, we can see Alex and Jax. Welcome. Anyways, okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to try to bring up some UFO footage, and we're going to take a look at it. I have something that I want to show Tommy Highway because I think it might bring back some memories in regards to his bar of light encounter that he shared with us a little while ago. I'm going to play it without sound, so you don't have to hear the intro and all that. But here we go. We're going to try this now. Let's see. I got to get past the intro, then I can put it up. Okay. All right. Share screen. We're going to try it. Okay. All right. Let me bring this up bigger. And check this out. This is a cylinder or a disc that was filmed over Mexico City in, let's see, 9/2019.
Huh.
I'm going to bring it up here shortly as an enlargement so you can get a look at it. What I found was strange is that it has bright silver lights going around the center instead of colored lights, which I found kind of strange.
That is really something, isn't it? Huh.
I just, what do you guys think?
It looks like a disc to me, and it looks like it's either rotating or it's got some kind of rotating lights for sure.
It's a really good piece of footage. Several people saw it.
That's certainly not a conventional aircraft.
No, and I took some still shots from the images. They were hard to kind of discern, but it shows that there's like a main light that keeps cycling back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Let me stop that one. Don't need to see that. All right. Let me go back here. We got a couple other ones there. This one here was posted today. Sorry about the intro, but check this out. Here is a string of amber and orange lights filmed over a New Jersey beach, and it was estimated at 100 yards in length. Now, I have a question about this, because if you watch the light pattern, when I enlarge it here, watch the light pattern. It looks like it's flashing like a pre-programmed light pattern. Kind of made me think it might be a drone right there. See that? I don't know what to think about that.
It's possible, but the lens of this camera is not doing that any favors, is it?
No. This is the clearest I could get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing as it being a drone, but it's just the quality is so poor. It's really, you can't really make
Yeah.
it.
Can't really tell. No, these are the stills. There are 4 lights right there.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely interesting, but you know, I mean, they have some pretty amazing drones now. They can do some pretty amazing light shows and stuff. So
Right.
and they're all computer controlled. You know?
So yeah, it's really hard to figure out what's real and what isn't. Okay, here's one. If you remember the tether mission, where they had circular craft with notches in the side, and they had like a hole in the center.
Yeah, you're talking about the space shuttle tether?
Yeah, these objects have a hole in the center, like the tether discs, but they look like they're connected, and there looks like there's a spiraling effect around the center of the orb. See that right there?
Yep.
A spiraling effect.
Once again, I think you're looking at that's like the results. Those things on the outside are nothing.
Yeah.
All that they're concealing what is actually going on, which is probably a portal or some kind of they're transporting themselves in and out of dimensionally.
So is that one of the things that you see, Vern?
I mean, it's things like that. This is once again, it's so pixelated and so blurry.
Yeah, it's so hard to tell.
But it's definitely something weird. You can see it rolling around like that, and that's rotation right there. That's spiraling.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely rotation.
And some of these things that I've seen, they come out of a spiral. You can actually see it roll out with them.
I thought it might actually be something like propulsion or something.
I don't know.
Something to do with propulsion. Okay, let's see here.
It's like a tic-tac looking thing, you know?
Okay, now this here was a 6-sided black object with a blue aura that was filmed over Larissa, Greece recently. Now, what it is, I have no clue. It's hard to see because the person did the one thing you're not supposed to do when you film a UFO. They didn't brace their camera.
And they turned it the wrong way.
Right. So I had problems. So I used the stabilization app to try to get it to you know, become more stable. And this is the best I could get.
That's a weird looking thing.
But what I'm going to show you are some still images. I enhanced the contrast a little bit because I think there's an aura around the actual object.
That might be just the way the lens and the camera is, though.
Okay, well, take a look at this.
Definitely a solid object.
You know what it could be, actually? I know it sounds crazy, but it could be like a plastic garbage bag.
Looked like it was just hanging there though for a while.
Well, you know, you can make a garbage bag float off the ground with hot air. I watched this guy do it, and it actually turns into a hot air balloon.
Oh, really?
And if you see them, yeah, it's pretty amazing. But they'll burst, you know.
That one was kind of solid, though.
But he was making these balloons out of these garbage bags, and he was like lifting them up. It was like flying them during the day. It was really cool.
Oh, wow.
So YouTube, he has a YouTube channel. But if you know, It's just saying that if it was sealed, if there was a bag got air in it and then it's sealed and expanded, it could float around just like a balloon, you know.
Would a garbage bag sit in one spot for 25 minutes?
If there's no wind.
Really?
Mhm.
And it wouldn't even move?
I've had my balloons tethered out here at night. And there's no wind.
Yeah.
And it'll just sit up there. Well, that's black line and everything, you know.
Wow, that's cool. All right. Next video is going to be a video that some friends of mine by the name of Alex and Jax pointed out in regards, and so did Vern, in regards to lightning illuminating something behind the clouds. Now, take a look at this footage and let me know what you think. Here, I gotta go to the share screen again. Okay.
You didn't see the
Oh, I don't know. That one actually didn't look like almost like they were looking for UFOs. They just happened to
catch it.
Well, the storm was going. That's what looked kind of cool too, though. They have to do like a lot of shit.
Okay, watch this. Let me know what you think.
So good.
The one with the rocket with the thing going by was definitely CGI.
This happened over Miami, Florida on 11/3/2019.
They could be a cloud, though. You know what I mean? And if the cloud was, you know, where somebody like did a little bit of, you know, enhancing of that cloud with a little CGI. You know, it's already there, but I'm just saying they could do some subtle. You know what I mean? It'd be really easy to.
That's a different one.
Sort of has a defined
See,
existence.
I was leaning toward tampering of this video, but I'm not sure.
Right there.
Yeah, you know, it could be a cloud that somebody played around with and made it look a little bit more embellished. You know, just using contrast and stuff and
Right.
Photoshop, it's amazing what you can do. You know,
But something shoots down from the clouds. It looks like ball lightning, but I'm not
it
sure.
could be ball lightning for sure, or it could be a bird or anything else.
There's a trick that happened to come right from that fucking thing, though, right?
Yeah.
Like it comes like right from the middle of the shit.
There's one of the stills. It almost looks like a blimp in the clouds, you know, like up close.
Yeah, it sure does.
That's what I was thinking at first, but I wasn't sure. Oops. That's not what I wanted. Okay. All right, I have a couple more here.
They're made as a cloud, just waiting for the day. They're like, it's fucking, it's waiting. Let's take it out.
Okay, check this out.
It's a cool video, though.
Check this one out. Just wait a minute here. Yeah. It looks like a pair of, I don't know what this is. It'll get larger here in a minute. You'll be able to see it. It's right here.
Huh. Wow, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. But like Vern said, everything seems to be a little fuzzy, but I can't tell.
How convenient, huh?
Some kind of drone, maybe? I don't know.
More like in a lounge.
Huh.
I kind of thought it might be a drone.
It might be a
Because
drone.
of how it keeps repeating its light pattern or the reflection of the sun, actually.
Uh-huh.
I think it's a reflection. I don't know if it's a light.
Yeah.
What do you think, Vern? Are you still there?
I'm in the
It definitely looks like a reflection. It doesn't look like a light.
Yeah, that's what I thought, Jax. I thought it was a reflection. But it's pretty odd shaped, whatever it is.
Right. Yeah, it is. Like it's wobbling.
What like it's doing one of these things.
Mm-hmm.
So it has that prominent reflection right there.
It does seem like it comes back to the same spot. It gets brighter because it probably is a reflection.
Yeah, it's facing the sun. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. I don't know what it is. It's just another one of those unknowns, you know?
Tim, look at me for a second.
Yes.
It looked like it was doing one of these things up in the sky.
Yeah, wobbling.
Agreed.
I agree. I do have something. It's called a disc passes over the Amsterdam airport. I have an inclination of what I think it is, but I want to put it by the people on the panel and see what you think, see what the people in the chat think.
People's wobbles, but they don't fall
It's
down.
passing over Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam. What I think it is.
What did the airport say?
Airport report was that they didn't see anything.
Typical.
I'm thinking that it's one of those drones they use to scare birds.
Could be.
Because it seems like it's pretty low.
Yep. Small.
I slowed it down quite a bit and enlarged it so you could see it. But you will see the original speed coming up here. Yeah, I don't know. It just shows you that a lot of drones can be misidentified. But here's the original footage. Well, there's an enlargement. That's what it looks like.
Hard to say. I mean, it could be a drone.
I don't
It
know
could be
what
something else.
Right,
an
it could be
odd-
something else.
It's an odd shape for a drone.
That one looks a little bit like
Right.
have like the shape of the one that they caught in, what was it, Utah?
Right, yeah.
It almost has a little bit like this, the one that everybody was debating, like it might be a bird or in that I think it was drone footage that they got like in Utah somewhere. Kind of looked like that.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, so that needs more.
See, there is something I wanted to show. Oh, here's one.
And the thing is, it's hard for us to decipher what it is because we're not there to witness it ourselves.
Right, exactly. Here's one a lady filmed over a golf course. It's hard to see at first, but it's right there. It's right there. But I'm going to enlarge it.
I'm gonna have to drop out for a second, Tim. I got a problem. I got static on my end.
Okay, go ahead, Vern. Okay, she filmed this over the Foxfire Golf Course in New York City. Check that out.
Certainly doesn't look like a jet, does it?
No. She said there were no wings or tail on it.
That's the actual speed right there, too.
Right.
Interesting.
And this is what it looked like blown up.
Yeah, that does not look like a conventional aircraft to me.
Almost looks like a Tic Tac.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah, it
thought
does.
maybe that would be a credible piece of evidence there. Okay, going to another piece here. I wanted to show, let's see if I can get to it. Oh, yeah, I have a question about this one. Okay, this is about the famous Marfa lights that are in outside Marfa, Texas, okay?
Yep.
My theory is that the Marfa lights are actually UFOs, and they're being seen because they're coming through a doorway or a portal of sorts. That's why they appear regularly, but not necessarily in the same spot. So I'm wondering if if these lights right here are actually UFOs, because scientists can't prove what they are. They have suggested they're bioluminescent plant life, but they can't point out the exact plants, okay? And some people have suggested spirits, but they're so bright and so far away that I would almost say no. I would say they're probably ships of some kind.
That color right there reminds me of my experience in Iowa. It really does.
This bright orange?
Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, and I just about bet you that flutter we're seeing is probably the camera more than it is the object.
Right.
Damn, that's really close, Tim.
Yeah, these are the Marfa lights. I guess they've been appearing for decades, but they're not necessarily in the same spot at all times. Now here there are 3 lights. You can see the 3 individual lights. Here are 2. And no, they are not Chinese lanterns. But the theory I have is that these are coming through a portal of some kind. I don't know what you think about that. What do you think about that, Tommy?
Well, it's possible. I mean, they have interstellar travel, and there may be more than one way to do it. I mean, who knows?
Right.
Different species probably have radically different technology. I mean, think about technology. Think about, let's say, us and China. All right.
Right.
I mean, yeah, the technology is completely different. Let's look at our military. Our technology is completely different, but it does share some common theme, some common links. When you're talking about 2 civilizations from 2 different planets, they could have 2 totally different, completely different sets of physics that they're working with.
Right. Okay, I'm going to play this one video here, and we're going to take a break from playing videos, but here's one showing a cylinder vehicle moving through a volcanic cloud over the Popocatépetl. Check this out. This is really cool, actually. Okay, here it is. I slowed it down. It looks extremely long passing through the volcanic cloud because it's jumping kind of, and its speed is showing up as length.
Well, watch as it exits that last little cloud right there. Look really, really closely and watch it actually look, it actually changes the cloud right there.
Right.
It actually pulls some of it out with it.
Right.
Look at that. So that's a real object going through that cloud, no doubt.
Right.
Look, it physically alters it right there.
Right.
Absolutely.
Check out the real speed. Normal speed. And here it is slowed down. I slowed this down by 0.25x.
Huh. Well, something definitely goes through there.
Vern was saying a little while ago that he thinks that a lot of these UFOs are maintaining the Earth. They are entering and exiting volcanoes and going in on fault lines and maintaining, the fault lines so that we don't have the massive earthquakes and we don't have the volcanic eruptions. And that's a very plausible possibility. If they can phase shift through solid matter, then perhaps they can do that. I mean, I've actually seen things disappear like they're not even there. So anything is possible. Okay, let's see here. All right, I got to go to the next page. I do have one that I want to show that is really, really interesting. I just gotta find it. Okay, here's one. This is a lady in Yakima, Washington, recorded what she thinks is a tic tac on 10/9/2019. She captured this after bracing herself against a tree.
Be nice if we had something else in the background to put some contrast, to contrast it with.
Right, I was trying to get a reference point.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
hard
don't
to
know.
discern the actual size because there is no reference point.
Right. It's a light dancing in the sky.
Right, it's just a light dancing in the sky. Exactly.
Huh.
And she's got a steady camera, so that's really moving.
Huh, about that.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but a lot of people step out their back porch and catch things when they're going out for a cigarette break. I've talked to a lot of people that see things. It's just amazing. Let's see here. Okay, here's one that was filmed over Halifax, West Yorkshire in the United Kingdom. Check this out. Whether this is real or not, can't tell you.
Interesting.
I'm just giving you some still shots so you can look at the shape.
Did it just fly right over top of a man up on that? Was a man up on the roof right there?
Yeah, it flew into some trees over a roof.
I just wondered if that guy reacted to it.
Well, we're going to see it again, so let's see. No, that's a chimney.
Yeah, chimney.
To me, it looked like the Hanabu, actually, the German Hanabu disc. If it's legit, it looked like a Hanabu.
It's awfully dark in color. Something bothers me about this. I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah, it kind of bothers me too, because when it moves through the air, you don't see any distortion.
Mm-hmm. Something hinky about this.
You don't see any distortion on that one. That's what bothered me about it. Okay. All right, we will go on. The one I'm looking for is kind of, well, going off track, off UFOs for a second. I want people to see this video. You know how hold on a second. You know how TikTok videos have taken off and how popular they are, correct?
Sure.
Okay, here's a TikTok video which captures a shadow person or alleged shadow person in a doorway on 9/27/2019. And so far, I haven't been able to rule it out. Okay, here we go. Check this out. Now you got to watch the doorway. You don't have to watch the girl. You watch the doorway. I will zoom in. Just hold on. I will zoom in.
Camera definitely catching something.
Okay, now we're going to get close so you can see. Check that out.
Certainly an image ran right across there, didn't it?
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah, I looped it so you can take a real good look at it. And what's weird is the light is out in the hall, okay? So why would the shadow be darker if the light is projecting into the room? That's my
It
point.
just doesn't make any sense.
Right. So it would almost have to be what it is.
There's definitely some kind of an image that runs right across there, and it's about the size of a person.
Right. And it looks like it's kind of bent over a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
There it goes.
Yep. I don't see anything in that room that would be reflecting into that dark area right there. That didn't make any sense. It's definitely not the girl's reflection.
I think this is a really good piece of evidence that backs up the validity of shadow people, in my opinion.
Definitely something there for sure.
Kind of hard to rule it out,
Mm-hmm.
but you never know. It could very well be a camera thing as well. But it looks real.
Yes, it does.
I keep booting myself. I'm new to this platform, so I'm learning it. Sorry, guys. All right. Residual haunt, paranormal underworld. Yes, I think so. I think it could very well be a residual haunt. Thanks, Jax, for your comment. I really appreciate that. I do have another one here that is off of what we're talking about, which I found kind of incredible. Well, here's the video I wanted. Okay, I want you to see the first part of this video because the first part of this video is very intriguing. I don't know what it is. You need to see it. Okay. Check this out. Oh, not that part. That part. Check those lights out.
Look at that.
I don't know what those lights are, but they're morphing into each other.
I don't see drones. I don't see remotely controlled operated drones getting that close to each other and not hitting each other. I don't see that. That's something else. I don't think that's drones.
They are actually, some of them are hitting each other.
And if they were drones, they'd be slapping the ground after that. You're right.
Yeah, if they were drones, they'd hit the ground, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Sure. They'd hit themselves and fall to the ground.
Okay, then some campers in Canada saw this. Check this out. It's hard to see it at first.
Isn't that interesting?
It'll get clearer as we go on. Come on. See if I can get it clearer. I don't know. It appeared to be like a golden rounded square that came to 5 points in the center. See if it'll show it. It's not really showing it. Anyways, this appeared over the skies in Canada. Okay, going back. I think what we're going to do is take a break from sharing and go back to talking. Hey, Vern.
Hey.
A lot of those images, some can be explained away real easy as something conventional or.
You know what it is? It's they're Chinese lanterns tied together. The guy's an arsonist, and he's trying to start a forest fire. We caught him. It took us about 6 years because we're so undermanned in California, you know. And
yeah, I heard the Christmas tree that's going to be up in Washington was actually on fire when you delivered it.
No, actually, it's a target. Yes, it's a target.
Okay.
It's a target for a high energy weapon. Those high energy weapons, it's bad enough that we have understaffing and stuff, but we have to fight high energy weapons too, you know, from outer space.
I'm going to let everybody know in the chat that if you have any video footage you want to have featured on this channel, we will play it in a live stream to give you the attention that it deserves and the analysis that we can give as a group. Because the best way to get the information out is to collaborate as a group and share knowledge. So we would like any type of footage, whether it be paranormal, and we have a paranormal, an experienced paranormal researcher in our group by the name of Paranormal Underworld, or Jax, and he can help you in that regard. We also have several people that are experienced in the ufology field, Tommy and Vern and Jax and Alex, and other people as well. So please send in your footage to UFO Man. I think my email is in the summary of most videos that I post, so you can find it there. Okay.
Thank you.
Anyways, Vern, what do you got? You got any new news in regards to UFOs or anything like that?
We seen some stuff last night, remember?
That was getting interesting, but God, yeah, we
There's
had
some
some
weird
jackets.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff that was going around on the valley last night. I mean, Jax, you want to elaborate?
But God, it's beautiful out there to go watch, man.
Well,
The sky's so clear.
There's a bunch of stuff flying out there. The thing is that it's looked like it was kind of mimicking planes.
Right.
It's really hot.
There was no sound whatsoever.
You don't want to burn that.
Okay.
So it's like, even if it was a private jet, you know, a multi-million-dollar jet from someone that's extremely rich, whatever. I mean, you're still gonna hear the jet engines.
Right.
And there was nothing, even if it was electric.
Wow.
You know, propellers, you'd still hear something. There was nothing. And then it was like right above the ridge, it was up in the sky, and you could tell it was up in the sky because it wasn't pitch dark yet. You could still see a little bit of slate hue of pink from when the sun went down.
Right.
But then all of a sudden, there's a thing, both things side by side. One was a little higher than the other, but if you could have a ruler, you could draw a straight line between them.
Wow.
So it was, you know, it was right there. And then as we were moving, it slowly started descending and disappeared behind the mountain.
I do know that I came on your stream last night and I tried to watch what you were seeing, but you can't see it with the camera you were using, so it was very difficult. But I could hear you, so I knew you were having a lot of sightings. Now, did you see the meteor shower too?
No.
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 You know, we lost one of our people last night. Early.
Yeah, I passed out.
Actually, I agree with you, Tim, as far as the camera goes. Yes, the cameras on the cell phone, they absolutely are junk.
Daytime, okay. Nighttime, there's just not enough light for them to gather to focus. You have an automatic focus. You cannot focus. If you have a manual focus, they work a lot better because you can focus it until you find the light. But if they don't find the light, they'll never focus, and they're going on infinity. So they'll never do anything. It has to be close, unless you have a night vision scope. Night vision, not infrared. Night vision, big difference.
Night vision, yes.
See, but the thing is that when you got footage from a cell phone like that in the dark, sometimes when the video renders, sometimes repeat again, sometimes
then you can see it.
See something because it renders on a higher,
But it's so hard to shoot blindly into the darkness and think that you're even getting anything, I mean, and you got a little teeny screen that you're trying to line shit up on, and it's just, it's just difficult.
Right. It's super hard. Yeah.
Yeah. You have some of those high end security cameras that they have on a full swivel, that go around, and they have night vision built in them. You see a couple of them on YouTube where they've captured some pretty amazing stuff. There's a few of them, but they're really expensive. They're usually guarding a really high end building, but they've had them around for years. I just don't understand why they make these cameras that are blurry. You know what I mean?
Right. It doesn't make sense. The new camera that came out on, I want to say the iPhone 11 XR not the XR, the 11S with the 3 cameras. That's the most advanced camera I've seen on a cell phone ever. Of course, I don't know. There might be more better than that. But from what I understand, you really need a Nikon D1000 to be out in the field with.
I'm not sure. I don't know the specs.
Right, Vern? Something where you need to adjust the lens.
Yeah.
Manually.
Yeah, have a manual focus. That's the one way to go. And then some video cams have them. The cheap ones don't. The ones that are like JVC, even their low-end JVCs, they have manual focus on them. So it makes a big difference. JVC makes actually a pretty decent camcorder for camcorders. But Sony made a high 8 camera that had night vision on it. That was actually, I knew somebody that had it back in the day. And it took remarkable pictures at night for what it was. I mean, I was really impressed. But they were really expensive back in the day. They were like fucking $300 more than the other camcorders in their day, but they were a high 8. I think it was, if I remember.
Those are the ones you could put the filter on and you could look through bathing suits and sort of that kind of thing. I think I still do have that actually. I know that camera.
Alex wants to know which one and where you can buy it. So if you want to get with him after,
It's kind of like this was what the early '90s. It was kind of a big deal. I wanted to try to recall them, but I never sent mine.
Yeah, the X-ray. Yeah, and there was another thing too. You can pull out on certain cameras the IR filter, and if they're wearing a certain kind of underwear or something like that, it's transparent. Because if there's enough infrared light in the air or whatever, it goes right through. It makes it transparent. But you have to pull the camera apart. Where the digital part of the lens is there, and behind that thing you plop it off. There's a little filter there.
Hey Vern, I need you to take over the stream momentarily.
Okay. Well, I can't really do that, but I can just sit here. I'll try to sit here.
I'm gonna put myself backstage. You go ahead and take over the stream. While I'm gone, I'll be back shortly.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll have to look in the chat. I'm gonna get the chat open here. And anybody want to come on? You have to let Tim. We'll have to be the ear to let you on and everything. What do you think, Tommy? What do you any final?
Well, there's some pretty interesting videos we just saw. A couple of them I can explain away in my mind. A couple of them I couldn't. The Tic Tac looking thing at the golf course. I mean, that was interesting. That thing that shot through that volcanic ash. When you look at that, you actually can see that object distressing or changing that cloud of ash. I mean, you can actually watch it. So something went through that cloud.
Yeah, they're definitely around geological anomalies. Like anywhere you have mountains and you have any kinds of volcanic activity and stuff, there's a high concentration of this activity going on, and it's for a reason. It's pretty obvious to me, but other people tend to want to argue it. But That's because you have to believe whether they've been here all along or not. And I kind of know they've been on here all along or not, but we have different beings operating at different levels, doing different things here. And we have been visited by many different species. And I almost get the feeling at times that they're fighting a war of some kind, because when I've been out here, I've seen them group together in ways that make me think that they're like resting, staging. And they're like up in canyons. I mean, it makes no sense. Like I go up a box canyon, like, or down a small box canyon that's right adjacent to like a residential area, and there's like 12 of them sitting up in the canyon. And I didn't even know that's what they were when I first pulled up. I thought they were just lights in the house. I'm like, where? And I'm like looking. I'm like, that I'm not sure what that is. So I get out of my truck and I walk up, and one of them starts to approach me, like, oh, it's one of you, because I had like amber lights on my truck. I wasn't running headlights. And when I'm kind of like, he starts approaching, like just check it out to see if I was like one of them. Like it was acting like it thought I was one of them. And when it saw I wasn't, it shot out of there, and the other ones followed it like it was a mad exodus out of there. It was a trip. And I never even saw anything, any object at all. I just seen the lights from them. And they were moving pretty fast. But I mean, it wasn't totally pitch dark, but it was just bizarre how like these lights and stuff, unbeknownst to me later, I found out it was like they're like a pinhole. Like if you take like a needle and poke a hole like through a piece of paper, that's how big the hole is that they're projecting out of. And yet they have things that are like the size of melons, in diameter. That's the projection, the hologram. And it looks like a crystal ball almost, like, of light. And when you videotape it or video it does not look like at all what you're seeing with your eyes. It's a trip, how it's so different, and I can't think of many other instances when you video something that and you're looking at it with your eye, that it can look so different on the video. Like when you video a car, you video a reflection on a car, it's all, pretty, you know what to expect. But with like this, I get home and I look at the video and it looks like a saw blade rotating, like with teeth on it, like a ripping blade, like on a table saw. But it did not look like that at all. It looked like crystal with all these colors and everything, and it's flat. There's no color in it in the video. And I don't know whether it's the camera or but I know I'm seeing colors, and yet the camera is blind to it. That's kind of weird too, like just weird stuff like that out there, that I can't explain, but some of the stuff is very difficult to video because it's not stuff that we think it is. Like you look at a light and you think a light's a light, but some of these lights are actually bending the space around them and doing weird things, and they look slightly different. You can train your eyes, like you probably know this, but certain things look different completely than what they appear normally around in the environment and stuff. But if you notice that,
What's that?
like I don't know, when you've seen the things or whatever, they look differently. The lights on them look differently. They're like a different kind of energy source.
Yes, yeah, they definitely stand out, huh?
Yeah. I guess we lost Tommy.
No, I'm still here.
Oh, you there?
Tommy's still here. I made you full screen.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know if you noticed that, but they have different, like a different wavelength of light. The way that it looks, it just looks different to me with my eye. Like I can spot it, like right away. Like I'll be looking and scanning around, and all of a sudden, like something will grab my eye immediately, and I'll like look at it, and it'll like do something. It's like weird.
Yeah, the UFOs that I've actually personally witnessed, they had a light about them that was different than anything else that I'd ever seen before or since. It's just something.
Yeah, and have you noticed them? Do they travel at an angle, like not necessarily flat, like they can, like people traditionally show them to fly, like at an angle, like this, like this. Have you ever seen them? I don't know if I can, like this instead of like this, or like this. I've seen them like doing like traveling like that a lot of times, or forward, like that. And it being a disc, you know what I mean, or a disc-like. When the one that came up on me though, on that hill, it was like it came up and it was like just like looked like inches off the ground. I mean, it was so close to the ground, and it came over the edge of that it was like right on the ground traveling. And you don't think about it. You think, oh, I'm looking up for them and stuff. You don't think about looking down. You know what I mean, or like in an area that low to the ground or whatever. Even though it was up on a ridge. I mean, if you were up on that ridge, it would have gone by you. You would have been looking up while it went by you. I can't happen to think that there's been times when my truck's been bumped by something. Like it's kind of weird. You're out there and it's pitch black and like you're seeing stuff going around, and all of a sudden you feel this boom, like this, like there's somebody behind the vehicle. You know, it's like I wonder if it's those discs going like underneath my truck or something. I just don't see them, you know, but they create a shock wave, you know, when they go by maybe. But it's also, yeah, almost like a shock wave. But it's you know, they're trying to scare me or whatever, you know. And they're doing, yeah, at first they were doing a pretty good job, but they will scare me now.
Let's see here. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Inger just said goodbye to everybody. Later, Inger. Thanks for coming to the chat. We really welcome you again. Anytime you want to come back, feel free. Welcome, Stephen Train. Nice of you to attend. Tonight was mainly an idea that Vern came up with, which was to play video content and talk about it. I have to be honest with you, the majority of video content that I watch on a daily basis, and it's a lot, I think has been faked for the most part.
And you get experience after now looking at so much of it.
Right, you get a lot of experience. You can.
And what do you see? What do you see when you see a fake thing? What's one of the first things that stands out to you?
I would have to say, for me, it just doesn't. It's too good to be true. It doesn't look right.
Right.
It's too good.
One thing that I notice a lot of times is they don't match the pixels. They're copying and pasting, and they're copying from a different resolution.
Right. That is true.
And
the clouds won't move right with the actual object.
Right. Well, and usually when you have the significant blurring of an object and everything else is clear around it, you would have to have a disturbance around it to do it. Like you'd have to have something, you know what I mean, bending the light or vibrating or something like that. And if it's on a clear day like that or whatever, and it's just the object moving through, there's so much like, you know, of going to be of an aura of a reflection because of the way that those digital cameras capture light. But it's not going to be where it's all pixelated on the image and then it's clear as like completely the resolution is perfect on the sky around it. That's one obvious.
You would think that with the amount of good cameras out there, that we should be getting really clear footage.
Right.
But I would have to say that in some cases that's not the case because
another thing you can do is you can take like you know, if you're investigating or doing stuff and you're trying to do stuff, is take your cell phone out in the daytime and take pictures and look how they turn out.
Get used to how it looks. Yeah.
Yeah, and try to and see how. Another thing too, try to videotape aircraft, just regular aircraft, and see how hard it is. And so the next time that you criticize somebody trying to get a disc or something, when they have like a half a second to react, you know, you're going to be able to when you have all day when the thing's not evading. You're right. The plane's not evading you, and it's up there, and it's just kind of cruising along, and it's so hard to get it in there. And if you want to, if you're around an area and you've had sightings, and you think you can get stuff on videotape, by all means, practice a little bit before you do it, and learn how to stabilize the camera and hold your hands down on something. You can't hold it upright because you're going to shake. You're going to have adrenaline going, you know. One thing, and another thing too, those cell phones are so freaking hard to hold without having something happen with them. They're so
especially the ones that go to the edge.
Yeah, well, you should have a case. The case makes a big difference.
Right. You need to turn your cell phone too, so it's not straight up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And the
landscape image.
The hardest thing is that if you really want to get UFOs, if you're in an area, whatever, you have to run the camera all the time. You can't just like turn it on off because by the time the camera boots up, gets all things, and you get it all going, all that, your object's long gone. It's gone. And so, you know, you need to have it rolling. And I was out here the other night, and I had a sighting. Something came over my house, and it was big. It was bigger than a commercial 777. I mean, it was a big object, and it had curvature to it. And as it went over, and I was streaming out front, I thought I was. I ran over to my phone, which is in a pan device, right? And I go to pick it up, and it's black because the damn thing decided that it wanted to shut itself down to save power, I guess, or something like that. You know? And unfortunately, I missed it completely. But it is what it is.
I think sometimes when people try to catch a UFO, like you said, you don't have time to do the settings or zoom in properly, so the images get messed up. But I would have to say also, a lot of times the vehicles that you are trying to film either cannot be filmed, or they're projecting some type of field that prevents a clear image.
Like a gravity bug, distorting gravity.
I was like 50 feet away from something, and I couldn't get it on my cell phone camera. It just would not film. Hi, Travis. How are you? Welcome to the channel.
You might be doing it from right here. Just roll in the back, you know.
Are you okay, Vern?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah. What?
I just wondered.
We were
We
thinking
got
about.
a new person in the chat. Travis Van Gogh stopped by.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Hi.
Welcome, Travis.
We were thinking if you want to do an after show, maybe we could go out in the bush.
Okay, we can do that. If we do that, I want everybody to know that you're probably going to just be able to understand what they're seeing by listening to them. It's very, very difficult to see what they're seeing.
Even for us.
Yeah, even for them. Tell them where you're going to go, Vern. Where are you going to go in Nevada?
Oh, it's in an undisclosed location.
But it's out in the Sierras, right?
It's actually east of the Sierras. It's through the Pine Nut Range there. The Carson, there's like a Pine Nut Range. There's like the Virginia Highlands, and then it goes down where the Sierras come. They cut back across over here at the south part of the area. But the Sasquatches and stuff are in the Sierra. They're not in the Pine Nuts necessarily.
Okay.
The Pine Nuts are really dry, sparse. There's not a lot of people back in there and stuff, and there's mainly just the wildlife is wild horses as far as the large animals are concerned. They're the ones that thrive in there. But I've never seen a bear down in that area. I've been told that they are there, but I've never seen one. I spent a lot of time looking around out there. The bears generally are in the southern part of the county or up at the lake, you know, where the food is. You know, they don't come. The Pine Nuts don't have a lot of food, and animals like that just don't. You know,
Right.
they're looking for forage. So there's not there's cougars, a lot of coyotes, a lot of rabbits and stuff like that, small game, you know, and horses. And but there's the trees are really low. They're desert type trees. You know, everything's pretty open. You know, anything that's cruising around out there doesn't have too many objects. You know, to really. I mean, not like in the forest, like right across the road. You know. Up in the Sierras, that's a full-blown forest, big trees and everything's dense. But I've seen things moving through the trees up there. I saw something come down one time when I was in the Pine Nuts, and I saw it come down into the Sierras. And there was actually 4 of them that came down. They were like a red, white, and blue, and they came all the way down and landed right in the middle of on the ridge, where you can actually go 4-wheeling up there in the summertime. But it was in the wintertime, and one landed there, one landed directly across on the Pine Nuts from me, and one was north and one was south. And I don't know what they were doing, but they were definitely all together. They were the same type of objects or whatever. But they came down. The one I saw came straight down from space, and I happened to turn around and notice there was one behind me. I didn't see the other ones come down just because I was watching the one. They probably came down all at the same time. But it was a really bright object for whatever it was, and it was on the hill. I think I got video of it. I have to look through it. I'm sure I probably do. I don't know how good the videos turned out, but I'm pretty sure I had video of it. But anyway, the video, I think it was probably a couple hours long or an hour long. It was there for quite a while. And I don't remember if it shot off or took off or if it became dawn and it sort of disappeared. But there's been a couple times where I've seen things land on the Sierras that came down from space or whatever, or came down from space and was flying around, along there. But could not have possibly been what I saw. But anyway, without it being something else going on. But I've seen quite a few objects all along in that area, and the mountains there are really steep. There's a lot of faulting there. It's mainly granite, that's been pushed up, from the lower depths of the lower plates, and
right.
and so there's a lot of geological activity. You know what I mean? There's hot springs all around everything else. So there's if they are here maintaining certain areas that are weak areas, I imagine there's a lot of gases that build up around here because of the way the granite is and everything, So, right. And you have Mono Lake to the south and Shasta to the northeast, Lassen. There's a lot of volcanoes, big ones, Shasta's a really big volcano, actually. It's actually Shastina is the one that's the one next to it. The peak next to it is the active one now. The actual Shasta, the peak, it's moved. I guess the hotspots moved a little. But Lassen every now and again starts spewing some stuff up again. And last time it erupted was in 1910. Wow. And that's in Northern California too. But Shastina, I guess, is the one that's active now. They used to have. I remember as a kid, I'd go up there, and the mountain was completely white all year round, just covered with snow, lots of it, right? And now there's no snow on it, like in places in the summertime. Now the drought did, do a difference, but we were talking about, glaciers that were on there for, 10,000 years, and it's not global warming that's doing it; it's the ground is getting hot. Probably from the type of volcano it is. It's a stratovolcano, and those are the kind that blow up. And they get a lot of heat build up under there before they blow. But when they blow, that one there is bigger than Mount St. Helens. It's a lot bigger.
Hey, you don't want it to blow when you're out there doing your UFO hunt tonight.
Well, I don't think it would matter because I don't think we would even know it happened.
Right, I hear you. So what I'm going to do is. Say thank you to everyone. We're going to end our stream and go to an after party at VERNVISION Truth Network, where Vern and my friends Alex and Jax are going to go out into the desert and do a UFO hunt. And everyone is more than happy to attend if you want to come along. Feel free to join the UFO hunt. It will be live. You can hear what they're seeing and possibly catch something that they're seeing. So please come over to VERNVISION Truth Network when we sign off. And thank you again for attending the live stream. And we will be doing this again soon. So again, if you have any footage, send it to UFO Man or VERNVISION Truth Network. Please remember to sub to the channels that are here this evening. Sub to the people in the chat. Share the love, and we'll see you again.
Sub. Somebody
take care.
Is that it? How long were